Today is the 30 December 2023, 23 hours 38 minutes. We will have kind of a simulation, a test here, and we will upload and check if we will have sound. The first thing we will have on mind is kind of the year is coming to the last day. We have a new theory, the social psychology, considering the cretinismus brasilis as the obsession to commit crimes and the control instruments leads to the very first moment the intent to weaken those control instruments. In general, the distortion points to human resources and the misconduct of power. It's kind of like a monkey with a fork, kind of has no idea about what is to do, and then we observe they misuse the power. We will have something here, and it's relevant to report, which is, for instance, let's suppose that I made a purchase of a mobile, an instrument, and I made on Europe. When I launch the instrument as hardware, of course that has the architecture as software inside and will be presented in the idiom at the area I had made this purchase. If I did on Italy, I will launch the instrument and also all softwares and will give me as language the Italy. The instrument as software has industrial code, and also the instruments on it as exclusive piece of this instrument that now belongs to someone, let's suppose me. When I log an account that do the ID of my instrument and the applications on it will present the same uh, cognition as the login. I will have, let's suppose, the instrument X and the architecture X and the instrument present those software. For instance, the Google will give me that I'm logged with the instrument X as location or history as access, and also the at the security field will give me the same information. If I have, for instance, a permutation of my embedded architecture as software, changing or having the mixing at the operational system Android, and it's made in Brazil, that has the instrument X in Brazil named as Z, will present the identification at the cloud like the instrument X, and the use of instruments will be recognized not as X anymore but Z. And this is something that you must confirm by the IoT directory, because if you got notice like this, probably you corrupted the architecture of the instrument, especially if the all elements are on Europe and then suddenly appear as Brazil or South America or other area. This helped me a lot to understand as criminal behavior pattern observed, considering the cretinismus brasilis as the obsession to commit fraud and at control instrument, since budget or the digital space or procedures in general, having specific hands doing the records or having the abusive order, signed procedure, complained, replaced by orders orally made. It's the intent to keep this kind of thing, which is a distortion indeed. It's complained internationally since 2014, not only by me, but by the IMF, the UNO, DC, United Nations Office of Drug and Crimes. Can you picture a Minister of Supreme Court involved in drugs and crimes like piracy, prostitution as a judicial power entirely? It's an absurd. or abusive procedure doing the corruption of minors to be on it and blame someone else, or the creation of law to set barriers at the regular pace of the life as anyone, and in Brazil implies foreigners and nationals, to have embarrassing situation, put things at the departments that are corrupted and push the association as criminal association, especially on records. It's the kind of thing outrageous. No honor at this by the facts we have as criminal architecture at the environment. The rational architecture indeed is observed, and the semi-automatic ground environment can be made by the interest as having the offenders at the embassies. For instance, if I have the federal jurisdiction in Brazil as assessment to do the reading of federal crimes involving the postal system, and we have a scam led by the top chair at the federal police that will receive the complaints, why we should consider that we have the problem solved. In the same way, if you have your company and a large number as board member, top chairs and investors that pick a new CEO, create problems inside, from inside to the outside, affecting the hood, and the block as this company, the hood, the entire state, as for instance New York, and then the entire USA and the global environment. And when got complained to solve the corruption, all pieces inside have a professional life based on corruption and nepotism, will them do the requirement that they complain as fight back the corruption if indeed they are the source of our problems. In the same way as public department, as observed in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, at the federal police, and you got only one to chase them all in the way we did, and we did many of them. We will check as rational architecture that you have, for instance, my environment A, I will have my environment B, public department, and corporations or the private area. And I will have also inside as kind interest on it. I will have the interest A and the interest B. And then I will check that this interest can be domestic or international. Can be domestic or international. If it is the interest on area A, domestic in the area A, I will have public and corporate. I will have indeed the division here as public or corporate, public or corporate, right? So by the interest I have considering the common area, that is this situation here, I can chase them all from this point. I have my area A, I have my area B, I have my area of interest A, and it's here the collinear argument as also the interest B, and here I will have the elements that are the concurrent field of all things. Take a look on our workflow. They are here, right? From this point, passing through those two areas corrupted, having, and it doesn't matter which is the quality, as public or corporate, domestically or internationally linked with the interest as corruption of both, indeed, it's qualified and traced as rational architecture from corruption, considering regular activities we have on areas qualified as appearance regular, but indeed unveiled as criminal purpose because the criminal activity as association or the illicit constraint and abusive procedure to push this is illegal, and you can complain with the offender if the offender are practicing the criminal acts. Then we will check that, for instance, if we have the Happy New Year on Brazil, and it's toilet paper that you will use to clean the big mess you made, you all. Because we use the intelligence this way, we can complain with the local departments if they are the organized crime proved on budget, integrated, violated their own constitution and also the Republican commitment with the international community on Article 5 for guarantee clause number 9, by the guarantee 33 that is applied on foreigners and national. We request information and got defaulted. And then we use the intelligence to allow the international application of the local law using the law 12,850, Article 1 and 2. It's about transnational organized crime law in Brazil, considering the silence as institutional position and decision on Article 13, especially about the crimes as fake records on Article 313, affecting the quality of criminal records as subsidiary, which implies all architecture of power in Brazil as conjuncture down there, and affecting the value as a relevant value or asset against the criminality, which is on Article 809 of the procedural criminal law in Brazil. It worthless, like the elements proved at this arena, I would say, as criminal use of power or monkeys with the fork. And after have the international application of the local law, we set the international law locally applied. Have you all on embassies? And for instance, if you have, in the way we had this module, the Happy New Year event, and you set a protocol, it's a new word that you have no idea what protocol is about, but you consider that protocol is a temporary regulation, and if you touch a girl or something, it's harassment. And in places having the parties at the New Year, you also have the prostitution area offered as, you know, euphemism, like lounge or massage or something like this, but it's prostitution. And in the same way, we can have that the prostitution indeed is led, guided, and controlled by the public corruption, considering the officers, the judges, the prosecutors in general. They got married with them, and they got fused also. At the budget, you have this, and you have a prostitute at the area with a lot of international foreigners affairs, for instance, that authorities having the architect or the case or whatever. And then they touch a girl and the girl make a big scandal at the area. By this protocol, seems that she will be the party interrupted, the area closed as like a murder to be reviewed by the local police. That it's not her being doing the control of the prostitution and this harassment, violation of your privacy, and a lot of things based on illicit procedure that will be used as fake records and prove the innocence of guilt, about the guiltiness that belongs to the offenders, and scapegoat against other person. And for instance, if your establishment or your bar is having some activity that is very traditional, will be closed, just like the COVID-19 as a temporary crackdown, for instance, and you must run the entire regulatory as facility at departments to reopen, have your activity opened again. And by this, we suggested to the foreign affairs and embassies allow the agents to do not be at those parties, they shouldn't be there, to prevent the association as touching a girl and be claimed as harassment, or be at the prostitution zone, that in general the prostitution is a murder industry, is a blood business that destroy families, and it's one of the large doors at the organized crime, just like the drugs that had been seducing the youth since only God knows, to keep the criminal slavery that fuels department and offices. And it seems that on 2024, Brazil, as Rio de Janeiro, will host the G20. It's a great opportunity to have 20 embassies setting an interval as Venn diagram and observe which is the common element of them all, considering the corruption as value negative one. The architecture set, this is a bit of what we will have the next year, right? One more time, it's requested to the officer avoid events in Brazil and Rio de Janeiro, especially if confirmed those crazy protocols about touching a girl is harassment. And there is as party with you can touch a girl at the area, and the girl as a prostitute will make a scandal. And guess what? Sooner or later, the owner of a real activity will be under financial choke and will have the activity as the support or push the association of him or her as owner of the commercial activity at the party at the organized crime. In the way we observe that they provide anything with the crackdown and the financial stimulus transfer, not only in Brazil, that had no crisis for the organized crime, only for the real business, replaced internationally and with local action, setting routes at the areas and doing the authorization that in general expressed the interest at the failure structure of markets. And this kind of thing, it's a bit more expressive as trust, which is the idea as collinear argument, running all things public and corporate, not more significant to express this in the almost last day of the year as corruption. It's a universal language at the organized crime. In general, is extended by the suppression of rights and guarantees as observed at the COVID, or also at those risky as party with those crazy protocols and scams as prostitution inside. You can be at this, for instance, with the holes as the prostitution and got poisoned or killed or whatever, because indeed it's a blood business. And it's not a business as itself, because the business is not about activities as criminal activity, but about the reliability of things you do to make the life of we all a bit better. And by this we offer the rational architecture as grid environment for the semi-automatic grid event or whatever, call as you'd like to call it, set on 2024 as the G20, right? Have a happy new year.